You are in a big project. You have your deadline coming, and you just finished a ton of interviews for that big project. You have pages of transcripts, stack of surveys, hundreds of customer reviews, narrative from different focus groups, and all that glorious data is giving you a hint of all the work that is coming at you. That feeling starts creeping in. That feeling of, oh no, what had I done? Where do I begin? And it's likely the same feeling that many people in projects with a 1,000-piece puzzle had, but the box is just a plain brown box. No picture, no clues. If it feels familiar, you are not alone. This is the exact moment where most people get totally overwhelmed and start drowning in that sea of data, of information. They know that there is a gold mine inside that old information somewhere, but they have no idea how to find it. There's a simple 6-step framework that researchers use to go from that data chaos to a crystal clear clarity. A method that lets you systematically pull out hidden themes and powerful insights from pretty much any text. Stick with me, because by the end of this podcast, you will be able to take any messy data information from raw to a confidential truth and narrative, a story that helps you to drive decisions for your project.
Welcome to Advanced Quality Programs with Juan Navarro. In this podcast, we're going to dive deep into the world of quality and leadership philosophies that drive successful businesses and great leaders to actually apply them to your everyday life. So if you're ready to improve your life, one quality principle at a time, let's get started.
Let's start with the method. What is the magic trick? It is called thematic analysis. It is one of the most popular ways to analyze qualitative data, and it's for a good reason. This is a lifesaver, and it was systematized and basically gifted to the world by two researchers, Virginia Brown and Victoria Clark, in a now world-famous 2006 paper called Using Thematic Analysis in Psychology. They saw that everybody was talking about finding themes, but nobody had an actual instruction manual to analyze data. So they created one. Thematic analysis is a process for identifying, analyzing, and reporting patterns or themes in your data or in your information. Think about being a detective. Instead of a crime scene, you have a pile of interviews, transcripts, and your job is to shift through those clues to connect the dots and figure out what really happened, what is really going on. That is what this method helps you to do. It's super flexible and works with interview transcripts, open-end surveys, focus groups, social media comments, you name it. Its power is that it is systematic, and it's a systematic process that guides you from that mountain of words to a handful meaningful theme. Now, there's a crucial point that Brown and Clark make, and it is a huge misconception. Themes don't magically emerge from the data that you have. It's not like a ghost in a machine. You, as the worker, as the researcher, are an active participant, and you are the one who actively identify and construct those themes. It is thoughtful, engaging, and these 6 steps are your guide. Let's start with the section 1, the phase 1, when you get to know your data. All right, please do not skip this. It is maybe the most important step. As always, the first step has to be crucial. You need to familiarize yourself with your data. I know it sounds obvious, but people rush this constantly. Think of it this way. You have to date your data for a while before you try to analyze it. You need to get fully immersed. This means reading everything, Then read it again. And I'm serious. If you have an audio of an interview, listen to those audios and then catch the tone. As you go, resist the urge to start analyzing. Your only goal right now is to get a deep gut feeling level of that content. What you are talking about in that data, what people is talking about with that data, what language they are using, what ideas keep popping up. It is also smart to take some initial notes. These aren't formal quotes yet. You just are jotting down thoughts like, several people mentioned that feeling of isolation, or wow, a lot of frustration in this part. Let's use an example. You had interviewed 20 new parents, and you are interviewing about going back to work. In this phase, you read 20 of those transcripts end to end. You are not looking for that final story yet. What you are just doing is just absorbing everything and getting to know what the people shared with you. Once you finish, then it's part 2, phase 2, section 2, generating initial codes. Once you feel like you know your data pretty well, you are ready for phase 2, generating those initial codes. This is where you start bringing some order to that chaos. A code is just a short label to assign to a piece of data. A word, a phrase, a sentence that seems interesting. It is a way of summarizing the core idea that little paragraph just mentioned. Think of it like using a highlighters, and you might use yellow for every mention that says childcare, for example, blue for manager support, a pink for feeling guilty, for example. Now, you will go through your data line by line, creating dozens, maybe hundreds of these codes. Your goal here is to be inclusive. Be a data hoarder. Code anything and everything that seems even remotely relevant. Don't worry about getting the code perfect. This is supposed to be messy. It is a creative process ultimately. Back to our new parents example. You might read, I feel like I'm being pulled from 100 different directions, trying to be perfect as an employee and as a perfect father or as a perfect mom. You could code that as identity conflict or balancing roles. Someone else says, I was so relieved my boss let me adjust my hours. You might code that as managerial support or flexible work. You just need to keep doing this until every interesting bit has a tag. Then you can actually move to section 3, phase 3, searching for the themes. Okay, you got this long, possibly terrifying list of codes. Now what? Welcome to scratching for themes. This is where you zoom out from the tiny details and start looking for the bigger patterns. A theme is a central idea that captures a key pattern in your data, and you build it by grouping similar codes together. This is where your creativity comes in. You are looking for at the pile of codes and asking which of these little guys belong together. What bigger story are they trying to tell? And this is a great time to get physical. Seriously, write your codes on sticky notes and plaster all them, stick them on the wall, and use your mind mapping tools. The goal is to literally see how your codes start to cluster together. In our working parents example, you look at your list of codes like identity conflict, mom guilt, pressure to perform, feeling turn. You might notice these all circle around a similar feeling. You group all them together and create a potential theme called the identity juggle. Meanwhile, codes like managerial support, helpful colleagues, flexible work might cluster together to find another theme called the importance of supporting and supportive workplaces. You are just creating a map of potential themes based on the connections that they are showing you. That brings us to phase 4, the review of your teams. And it's the all-important reality check. Reviewing and refining your teams is what you are aiming to. This is where you, Marie Kondo, your analysis. You have to check if your teams are actually spark joy, or, it makes sense with the data that you collected. This happens in two parts. First part is when you review your teams against the coded data. You grouped under one cluster all of them, read through all the quotes for a single team, and then ask you, do they form a coherent story? If you find some data that doesn't quite fit, you might need to tweak the team, move the data, or even create a new team. It's also possible a team just doesn't have enough data to go back and make it up. And you might have to think that you actually are releasing this and let it go. But then it comes the second part. You review the entire thematic map against your entire dataset. Read through everything again. Does your collection of teams capture the big patterns across all interviews? Is anything major missing? This is a back and forth process. You might split teams, merge them, and ditch them entirely until you have a structure that feels solid and tells you a one creative and coherent story. In our example, you might look at your identity juggle team and realize it's actually two different things: the internal feelings of guilt and the external pressures from work. You might split that into two teams, then internal identity conflict and navigating external expectations. That makes your data sharper. And it welcomes section 5, defining and naming your teams. Once you are confident that your teams are correct, now it is time to really fitting and defining and naming those teams for good. This is where you lock in your analysis and make the things sound smart. For each final team, write a detailed definition. This isn't just a label anymore. It's a tight paragraph that emphasizes exactly what the team is about. It tells the story of that team, capturing the core essence. After you have that solid definition, give each of those teams a great name. A good team name is punchy and instantly tells you what is that team about. Instead of bland names like support or something more evocative like workplace liveness might sound more powerful. For our example team, you could finalize the name as the double shift juggling professional and parental identities. Then you had write a paragraph defining it, explaining that this team captures the struggle parents feel as they navigate these two demanding roles, the parenting and working again. Now it goes to section 6, phase 6, writing the report. This is the victory lap, where you finally get to tell the story that you have been working on and you are uncovering it. But it comes with a warning. Your report is not just a list of your teams. You need to tell a coherent story that is backed up by your data. For each of the teams, present your analysis. Explain what is meant with that information, and most importantly, illustrate your points with vivid quotes from your data. These quotes are your evidence. They bring your analysis to life and ground your findings in a real human voice. The biggest trap people fall in is simply describing the data instead of analyzing it. Description tells you what people said. Analysis tells you what it means. What are the implications? Don't just show us the ingredients. Tell us what dish you had cooked and why it matters. So, in your report on working parents, you would introduce the double shift, explain your interpretation, and share a few powerful quotes that illustrate that struggle. You would then explain why this topic is so significant, perhaps linking it to a broader conversation about corporate culture or work-life balance. So, okay, let's make a quick recap. 1. Familiarize yourself with your data. Get to know your data quickly. 2. Generate initial codes. Tag everything that seems interesting. 3. Search for themes. Group all those codes together into a broader pattern. 4. Review your themes. Refine, merge, and split all your themes into one solid idea. Define and name your themes. It's number 5. Give your themes clear definitions and punchy names. And finally, write the report. Tell a compelling story, evidence-based, of your findings. This is a process that transforms any messy task into a manageable and honestly exciting journey of discovery. It gives you reliable structure to find the powerful stories waiting inside your data. I must be honest, I used that in my last 2 books, and it was exciting. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for turning in, and if you want to start applying this technique, check also our video on epistemology to discover what data might not reveal. I appreciate your ratings of my books, The Quality Mindset, Life Quality Projects, and The Principles of Quality. Now, dive into your data and uncover those stories. Stay excellent, keep improving, and if you haven't already, be sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode.
One small change triggers everything. Watch how agile thinking works. Inspect, adapt, repeat. Each step builds the next, creating confident, unstoppable momentum. This is the Quality Mindset by Juan Navarro. Get your copy now.